What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my spiritual YouTube channel. My name is Kieran, and I help people using a spiritual perspective or something like that. Some nonsense, some intro. I don't care about the intro. The point of this video, though, is I don't know about you guys, but the last X amount of weeks, maybe, have felt difficult. Difficult. That's the word I'm going with. And it's been difficult for me in terms of the line, so often a thin invisible line between what you want and what you need, and this idea of getting what you want, the desires that we have, and then the failure to see the results. Okay, so difficult. In fact, that's pretty much all of life, isn't it? I mean, seriously, thinking that you want something, trying to get something, and then you don't. Many more examples of that happening in life than the opposite. Okay, and even sometimes when we get what we want, we're not actually very happy, right? So today's video is really all about changing your desire, changing the attitude or perspective that you have, changing the things that you want in order to get better results. So for instance, right now I'm looking at trying to find a new job. I'm primarily a tour guide, and often a very good tour guide, successful tour guide, but tour guide, not quite the most lucrative career. And the reason it's not very lucrative is because despite the amazing experiences that I have and the amazing people that I often meet and the things that I learn about different cultures, as beautiful as that job is, it's not exactly a year-round thing. Not in Toronto, Canada. And even in cities where it's warm, it might not be as walkable. So the point is, it's time for Kieran to get a big boy job, or to get something else that aligns with my career, my passions, my identity, my personality, all that good stuff. Maybe a place that'll take, pasty white guys who need a haircut. That would be an ideal job for me. Maybe I could just stand around and people can go, wow, he could use a haircut. If I could get paid for that, well, I'd be rich, and maybe eating chocolate as well. But those types of jobs don't really exist. I think they're kind of just being homeless, really. And I don't want to be homeless, right? I like having roofs over my head and air conditioning and heat and showers. Showers are great, right? I love shower. A good shower is great. So I want to keep certain aspects of my lifestyle without having to completely destroy my life. And that's where money comes in. So there's a strong desire. Now, for many people, money, regardless of where they find themselves in a career, is an important thing. And it is an important thing. Regardless of what currency you're using, having stability is important for your spirituality, for your life, for your sense of self. It's an important thing. Other people, relationships, money, love, right? Trying to manifest certain things to happen, okay? Desires, right? Now, whatever that desire may be, you do the things that you think you're supposed to do. There's a certain element of logic that is associated with desire, right? You want a job, you look for jobs. You want a job that you like, then you make a list of what you would like amongst that job, what kind of qualifications you would fit well with. If you want a job that you like, that you're good at, that you would be good at, then you start understanding what your, what your skills are, what your advantages and disadvantages are. If you want a job that fits your likes, your passion, what you'd be good at, something that make you a lot of money, then you start looking at different kinds of jobs and so on and so on. But you take logical steps. You make lists, you apply, you network, you ask people. You pretty much do everything that you possibly can to find a job. And it involves a lot of action, right? A lot of moving around like this. My hands are moving. Like that, okay? So there's a lot of movement and stuff, right? And when it comes to love and other examples, it's still a lot of actions, you go on dating apps, you ask people out, you form relationships, you try to go on dates, you, again, maybe network, you ask friends, things like that. And then the emotional energy that you expend in any of these desires is often, palpable as well. Huge amounts of outpourings of emotions go towards love and relationships and career and money, the guilt, the shame, the pain, the delays. Oh my God, so many delays. I mean, my whole life is like a goddamn inner city subway system. It's just filled with delays and constantly shitty. But every so often there's beautiful gems of truth and light and wisdom and things that, permeate our lives. And those are the things that keep us going, right? But in the interim, between the desires and the older things that we've been used to, there exists a bubble and a space. And no matter how many actions we take, often we're still seeing these delays and things are not necessarily showing up for us. And so then it becomes a matter of flow. And how do you actually get into the flow of your own life? Because many of the actions that we're taking is what we think is the flow of our life, but it's just actions. It doesn't matter if they're well-intentioned, logical, smart, intelligent actions. We take them without really checking in, without taking a break, without stopping, without deciding what our future would look like, because we don't have time. Bills need to be paid, things need to be done, and any moment the whole thing could come crashing down and we would reveal to ourselves the tiny, tiny, insignificant little speck that we are in our human life, which can be taken away at any moment. All the pain that we have about trying to find a partner or a job or money, or all the little problems that we have, big or small, tomorrow it might not matter. You could be dead, the world could be over, etc., 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 right? Or bigger problems might arise that make all those other things not so important, like the death of someone that you really love. It might make things seem not so great, right? So there's a lot of stuff that can happen and does happen to people all over the world. And so all the things and the efforts that we take might be for naught anyway. And we really are quite insignificant in the grand scheme of things, right? So it comes down to a certain level of importance that we are placing in the future and on our desires. And if we can somehow change our desire to something else, then the results of what we want would also change. So using this career as an example, because many of us are in a position where we'd like new careers, new opportunities, more money, right? Things that go along with our skills and our talents. Nobody wants to work at Subway, both not the sandwich shop or a literal Subway. People want to do things they want to do. And we'd all like to do those things, right? I mean, I'd love to get paid more and all the things that I do in life, right? I'd love to get more money in music and writing. And as much as I make music and writing, it doesn't always work out that way. So the amount of energy that I output towards my specific desire, right, creates more pain. And within that pain, up comes the guilt and the conditioning. And it's a very difficult process to try and fix all of that conditioning while you're trying to get something that you want. It's not impossible, but it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, and it creates stress, and that stress is dangerous. Everybody knows, most people know, stress is a killer. It's a cliche, but it does affect your body. It affects my body. It really does. And changing your desire is a way of getting out of that cycle of bullshit that really follows us around when we have these strong desires for things. Because the strong desires we have are often created from genuine places. You genuinely need a better living situation. You genuinely need to pay rent, or you genuinely want something that makes you feel good. All legit, all great. But the more that you want it, the more it causes you pain. So the best way to deal with your difficult desires that are not coming true is to change the way that you think about your desire, to change your desire itself. So rather than going after a partner, a specific person, a idea, a dream job, a career, more money, changing your desire to something not tangible, changing your desire to something more found in the everyday will allow you to feel more peaceful. And from that peace, something new can come out of that, the things that you would originally want. But it's almost like skipping a step. Rather than going after the thing which you think is what will help make you feel better or take care of your issues, ultimately doesn't actually get you the feeling that you're looking for, because the feeling you're looking for is something you can find in abundance in the everyday life. So peace, people always say happiness, but the silence, the peace, the feeling that everything's going to be okay, the feeling like you don't give a shit, like it doesn't matter if it's okay or not. It's a fucking great feeling to have, to not give a shit. When's the last time you didn't give a shit? Like truly, truly didn't give a shit? Because that's all letting go is, and that's all peace is. It's just you don't give a shit. You feel great. Someone tells you that you're a big nose idiot, and you go, yeah, maybe. You don't give a shit. It's a great feeling. It's a better feeling than attacking a person back with some other kind of insults. I mean, that can also be pretty good, but the peace it's more deep. It lasts a little bit longer, I think, and it permeates yourself, permeates your deeper self. So changing that desire, rather than focusing on the tangible thing, the job, the partner, the money, whatever, changing it to things like, hey, you know what? I would love it if I just didn't give a shit as much, if I felt peaceful, if I didn't have to worry so much about every little thing. I mean, how much must a human go through? How much should we put ourselves through in order to get to a place where we feel okay again? How much bullshit can you go through? How much can you worry about? How much can you do? How many actions can you take? How many things do you have to do, logical or otherwise, in order to feel justified here, in order for your life to feel okay? How many methods and plans and schemes do you have to go through in order to get what you want? It seems a little bit unfair that the constant stress that we feel is a result of our desires, and yet our desires feeds into that stress. So it almost seems like you can't win. You need a job and money to survive, but you also feel like this obligation spiritually in order to find things that really resonate with you, because you're on this journey and you're in tune with yourself. And it just seems like the more that you try to find something that's good, the more you stress, and the more you stress, the worse it gets. And you see the cycle, right? It's a difficult thing to get out of. And rarely we ever do. It's not until things completely shatter do people actually break out of that cycle. And things do often shatter to get people out of them, to get people to a point where they don't care anymore, where they let go, okay, where they don't give a shit. It's a great feeling. It's rare. Sometimes we feel it, sometimes little moments, sometimes big moments, sometimes a couple days, sometimes never, sometimes once a month. It depends on the person and the attitude and the time of the life. So changing the desire from I want a new job that, gives me all this and blah, blah, blah. As much as you might need that practically in the world, getting to a place where you're saying, hey, you know what? What I'd really like is to just feel peace and to just feel like it's okay to be who I am right now without all of my desires. Can I accept myself without all of the desires that hang over my head? And if the answer is yes, and if you change your desire to that, not only will you have to take less actions, which means more energy for yourself, more focus on yourself, you'll get the thing that you want anyway. Rather ironically, I mean, nobody's ever felt good about themselves and had bad things happen, okay? Another way of saying that is no one's ever felt good about themselves and felt peaceful and felt in tune with the flow of their life and then watched as everything just continues to fall apart. That's not really what happens. It's really the opposite. However, when we keep going after the things we want, even if there's a good attitude or a logical place that we're thinking from, things fall apart all the time. It happens all the goddamn time with delays, the setbacks, the obstacles, and it's like, how come I can't make things work? And you get more stressed and your body starts to feel it and your mind, the last few weeks I started to develop a twitch in my eye because of how stressed I've been and trying to find certain things. And the pressure that we put on ourselves is astronomical. And it's parental pressure, societal pressure, personal pressure, other kinds of pressures, I'm sure. Insert X name into pressure. A lot of different pressures that we have. And none of it has ever helped us or made us feel better. So rather than focusing on the desire, we should really take a step back from what we want and focus on what we are, which is a human body, which is a spiritual being, which is a real thing going on inside of this body. There's a presence within us, and there's a moment that we exist in all the time. And that moment is key. Getting into that space to feel okay, even though your life is not perfect, that the things that you want are still not here. That space is a space you can own. You can actually own it. Nobody can take it away from you or tax it or any of that bullshit. You can own that space because it's your space. It's yours. It's only yours. It's no one else's. That's you. That's yourself. That's your connection with who you are. And that's something that if you change your desire from a tangible thing, something material, right, and you put it into this more ethereal type of metaphor, the spirituality, then what you'll find is that the things will tend to work out better. It doesn't mean that you get everything you want in 24 hours. It just means that the flow of your life gets back on track, slowing things down, allow things to happen more naturally. So that you don't have to struggle so much. Rather than doing a bunch of shit, it might more seem like the way that things present themselves are opportunistic and synchronistic, right? Rather than just scrolling endlessly through jobs on the internet, taking some time to meditate or rest or just check in with yourself It might actually allow an opportunity to come more naturally. And maybe rather than have to look at 100 things, a synchronicity and a coincidence or an opportunity might appear itself just once. And it does it in a good time. So you don't have to spend a bunch of energy, physical or otherwise, really going after something, right? Allowing things to happen is a better attitude than just doing things because you think that's what you should do. So taking a step back, changing your desire allows these things to happen more naturally. And ultimately, all any of us are trying to do, really deep down, is to be natural, is to be ourselves, to be authentic. And you should ask yourself, how authentic do you feel every time you take these ridiculous actions to try and get what you want? Do you feel desperate? Do you feel authentic? Do you feel like you're in pain, that you have guilt for not getting things? Do you feel bad about yourself? How authentic do you really feel every time you step out of the door and do the things that you're programmed to do?